Hello, fellow mini makers. Welcome to my messy desk. Today we're going to make a fun fall wreath to hang on the door of your dollhouse. I'm starting with this little ball of clay that I'm going to roll out into a rope, and it's going to become the base of our wreath. Now, it doesn't matter what color you use because this is going to be completely covered up with raffia when we're done. So once we get about the size we need, we stick the ends together like so. Roll it out just a little bit. Make sure it's even all the way around. I'm going to put it on the little pan I'm going to bake it on. And then I'm going to lightly tap it down around the edges and just kind of give it a little bit of a flat on the bottom and the top. And that's about it. And then we're going to bake it just like that. And when it's done, we'll put our raffia on. Now we're going to set that aside, and I'm going to show you some of the little pumpkins that we're going to put on. I've got a variety of little fall colors here that we can use for our pumpkins in different sizes, and they're all pretty small because we don't want them to overpower our wreath. So we're going to put a little dot in the center, little indent, and then we're going to take our needle tool and we're going to roll it around the outside and create the grooves of our pumpkin. Now, pumpkins have all different size ridges that go around, so there's no exact formula for this. They can be large, small, and the spacing just really doesn't matter. So once we get all of those in place, I'm going to take my middle tool and I'm going to just sort of smooth it down in the center and add some extra creases around the top so that they're nice and defined. And then I'm going to take a lighter color clay that I'm going to use for the stem. And you can use a darker brown or even a shade of green if you want to, or combine them. The stems are all different colors. So we're going to roll it kind of small. And then we're going to take our blade and just cut a piece off the end and roll it down a little and apply it to the top of our pumpkin. Now we're going to take our needle tool and use the sharp end. We're going to start to pull down to the pumpkin through the stem, which is going to give the stem that veiny look that they have. And it's also going to help adhere that stem to the pumpkin really well. So we're going to do that all the way around. And we have to be careful at this point because the clay will start to get soft in your hands, and you might start losing some of the detail that you've put into it. So I'm going to go back through here and make sure those creases are nice and deep before I'm done. And I'm going to do that to the rest of all those pumpkins and set them aside to bake in the oven. Now, I'm going to also show you how to make some of these little acorns. I've used sort of a rusty brown sort of clay, and I've rolled a small ball and then turned it into kind of like an egg shape to where there's a little point on the bottom and round on the top. Now I've already baked these. I made 3 of them, and I'm taking a really tiny small ball of darker brown and I'm going to push it right over the top. And this is going to make the nice cap on top of our acorn. And like I said, the bottom part of the acorn I've already baked, so it's not getting distorted as I'm placing the top cap on. And we just make sure it's even all the way around. And that will be our cap. Now we're going to take an even tinier ball of clay, roll it into a little bitty ball, and we're going to put that right on top of our acorn. And that's going to be where the stem was. So I'll make all 3 of those, and they'll go into the oven as well to finish baking. We'll set that aside. Now I've also pre-made these. They're small little balls of clay that I've rolled into glitter. I use these paper cups. I put glitter inside of them, and then I roll the small ball of clay, and I drop it in and shake it around. And I use a different little cup for each color of clay. These little sleeves are perfect for this. There's a ton of them in there and they work really well. So I just shake that little ball of clay into the glitter, and I do 1 piece at a time, and after each piece I shake it around in the glitter, and this prevents the pieces from sticking together. Now I do 3 different colors. I did yellow, green, and orange with different colors of glitter, and when you're done you can even bake them in those little cups. Now, since they're all baked, I poured them all into the same cup, and we're going to use those as decoration on our wreath as well. So now I've baked our pieces, and I'm going to show you how I distressed these little pumpkins a little bit. we want to give them sort of a antique-y sort of look. So I've got this burnt umber acrylic paint, and my paintbrush is full of water. I'm using almost more water than I am paint. It's very, very thinned. And I'm just going to start dabbing it all around the top of our pumpkin and all down the little creases. And the paint, because it's so thin and watery, is going to run down into those creases and give it that sort of antique-y country look. And if you get a little too much paint, don't worry, just add a little more water and it will help thin that out and give it that nice washed sort of look with our browns. Now I did this to all the pumpkins, and here's what they look like with that antique sort of look to them. So now we're going to work on our base a little bit. I use raffia. You buy it in the craft store. It comes in long strands. It's easy to work with. And so we're going to pull out several strands of this raffia. We don't want it too long because we're going to be wrapping it around. So we're going to start with some tacky glue. I love this glue, but just be careful. It is water soluble. So if you get it wet later, it'll come undone. So we're going to add just a little bit of glue to our piece to hold down the end of our raffia where we start. And then I'm going to start wrapping the raffia around the piece, pulling it through the center each time. And I'm going to wrap backwards, and it's wrapping back over the piece that we've glued down. And that just sort of gives it an extra strength and being held into place with the glue. And we're going to continue to wrap and wrap all the way around. And as we run out of one piece, we'll just add another piece of raffia, glue it down, and continue wrapping until the entire thing is covered all the way around. It doesn't take very long, and it's pretty easy to do. So here's our finished piece. It's got the raffia going all the way around, and when you get to the end, simply glue it down and you're good to go. Now, from here, I also cut out some leaves out of tissue paper, and this is very easy to do. I can show you. I layered a bunch. I had 5 different colors. I layered them up, folded until there's about 25 layers there. Now, the scissors still cut through this really easily. So I take my scissors and I just simply cut out a small leaf shape, making sure that you go all the way to the end with your cut so that they release from the paper. And just like that, you have about 25, 30 pieces of leaves of different colors. So just doing a couple of those and you have plenty for our project. So we're going to start gluing these pieces onto the base of our wreath. These are going to be the underlayment, and little bits of color that are going to poke through is really going to add to the overall look of our wreath. So I'm going to use some of my tacky glue. I'm going to put it directly on top of the raffia and making sure to spread it kind of in and out to the inner and outer part, because our leaves are going to go in all different directions. And we're just going to push down the base of each leaf into the glue. Like I said, alternate colors, all different directions that they can go into. And they're just going to be poking out of the base with our pumpkins and other designs on top. And we're not going to go all the way around our wreath on this. We're only going to go like a crescent moon shape and leave part of the wreath exposed on the other side. So I'm going to fill all this in. And now I've decided to go ahead and use a little bit of moss in small pieces that I pulled apart, just to add some extra color and texture. And it also gives something for our little pumpkins to nestle into. And you can simply pull the pieces apart. I grab them with my tweezers, dip them in glue, and place them in various places around on top. And like I said, this gives us a nice base for our pumpkins to set and nestle into as we glue them on. Now we're ready to start adding our pumpkins. I usually start with the larger one in the center and then work my way out to smaller on the outsides. So I place it first, make sure I like its placement, and then I'm going to dip the base of it into glue and just set it right into place. And I'm going to continue to do this with as many pumpkins as I want. Like I said, I keep the larger ones off to the side, and the smaller ones will go around the top. So pick the different colors, and you're going to see this wreath is starting to take shape here. It's getting some height to it, some depth, and a lot of different color. So we're going to go all the way out to the end there with even the smallest pumpkin and glue those into place. And this tacky glue holds really well. Once it's dry, it stays in place fairly well. So we're going to add another one down here. Now I've also made a ribbon bow that you see there in the corner. And I wanted to add that over to the end. I just tied it from basic ribbon, just a plain and simple bow, and trimmed the ends. And I want to find a placement for it before I finish off at the end, because we're going to put other things around it. And I kind of like the way it sits there at an angle like that. So I think that's where we're going to glue it at. I'm going to take my needle tool, add some glue, and place our ribbon. Now, this glue is pretty forgiving right now while it's still wet. You can pull a piece up and replace it if you need to. So that's going to be just a little off center, off to the side, and I think it's going to look real cute there. I do want to fit one more pumpkin in. I think we're going to nestle it right up underneath that ribbon. And that's going to look really good. And next we're going to get started on the little balls that we have pre-made, rolled in glitter and baked. And we're simply going to dip them into glue and start placing them in various places around the wreath where there's a blank spot, an empty spot, or someone that just needs a little burst of color. And as these pieces go on, you're really going to see this start to pop. And the color that it adds really works well with the fall theme. So I started with the orange, and we're just going to go into, like I said, anywhere that looks like it could use a little pop of color. And then we're going to go in with our yellow. And to me, the yellow just really sets this off. It's just bright enough to bring some brightness to the whole thing. Pulls the eye to different parts of your wreath. And just use your best judgment where you think those little pieces fit in best for you. Now we're going to go in with some darker green. Just another color interest with a bit of a sparkle. Really adds great character all the way around to our wreath. Can always go back with different colors and add them in. And that's looking really nice. I'm very pleased with the way the colors are really popping out here. It's got some great character to it already. Now, when you're done with this, you can add a wire or a ribbon loop on the back to hang it in your dollhouse or on your dollhouse front door. So that's fairly easy to do once it's all dry. Now we want to add in our little acorns, put them in place, and we'll be finished. If you enjoyed watching this video, you can follow me on YouTube at Gina Holland. And if you subscribe to my channel, you can click on the little bell up at the top corner and be notified of future videos. You can also follow me on Facebook at Itty Bitty Minis and my website at ittybittyminisbygina.com. And that's where you'll find all my products that I have for sale. I enjoyed doing this for you, and I hope you did as well. And we're going to place our last acorn, and we're going to be all finished with our wreath. You can see the nice depth we have here with it. Once it's all dry, we'll get it hung up. Thanks for watching, and remember, a creator always has a messy desk.